Hello, Cherries fans, and welcome to this Thursday night special here on Back of the Net with me, Sam Davis.
It's me, Tom Jordan.
And look, Tuesday night, it wasn't a brilliant watch, was it? Not many of us expected it to go that way, but at full time, after that 1-1 scoreline, AFC Bournemouth uploaded their match report with a headline, something along the lines of Christie leveller puts Bournemouth up to second. And that was it. It was a short, factual headline which glossed over the content of the match, we feel. As many Bournemouth fans feel, it was a performance which left many Cherries fans scratching their head. And as such, we've titled our video like that as well. These are the things we don't understand. And social media's been a funny place since that game on Tuesday, hasn't it, Tom?
It has, mate. It's been the constant debate that's kind of been rearing its head more of late. And I think that result just made that more evident, really. The fact that, as you said then, Bournemouth we moved back up to second, and we keep saying that, don't we? The remit at the moment is going according to plan, but what we're seeing's not great. What we're seeing on the pitch is pretty dull. And, you know, the simple fact is, mate, we were home to bottom of the league. We've played them twice this season. We scored 1 goal. And I didn't think they had to work too hard for it. I thought it was quite comfortable for them, get the lead and then just sit back, make it difficult. I'm trying to look at different things. You try and spin a positive and say, you know, tough to break them sort of teams down. But you look at the players we've got and you just feel like there should be more expression there. There should be more flair. There should be more to cheer about. And you saw that at the stadium. I thought, you know, as soon as they scored, we spoke about it beforehand, if we go a goal behind. And I actually didn't think the fans started that badly. I thought, you know, we tried to get, but once you go a goal behind and you're seeing the same patterns, the same things happening, it's hard not to show a bit of discontent. And yeah, maybe that doesn't help the players, but it's got to be a bit of give and take, mate. And yeah, it was really difficult. And I hate seeing the players kind of booed off at half time, booed off at the end of the game. It's horrible. But you know, we want to be entertained. We know the players we've got. You know, I've gone through I know we'll probably get onto it. Scott Parker mentioning Cat 3 Academy players, all this sort of stuff. Well, we haven't got enough time to mention all the players he was allowed to bring in. Never mind the players he already had in the squad. The amount of players, the amount of quality is unbelievable. And you've got people like, you know, Robbie Brady, don't know how much he's earning, not kicking a ball. And just because we could have him there if we need him. And, you know, Scott's been very lucky. So yeah, I just feel we should be getting a little bit more for what we've got on the pitch. But as Bournemouth said, we are up to second.
We are up to second. So full disclosure before we begin, as fans, we're just confused and baffled, really. We want this video to try to unpick the things that we're confused by and list the things that we're just not really understanding, as well as maybe suggesting some potential solutions to those issues through the eye of a fan. Look, we might not be right, but we're entitled to have our say. We've also had some of your feedback, which is fantastic. And through the show, we'll also be airing your views as we look to work out why it is proving so difficult for AFC Bournemouth to get over the line. But Tom, where are we? We're at the Pear at Parley.
Thought we'd pop it here for a change, didn't we? Yeah, we're in one of the pods. Love it. This is the other pod.
This is the other pod.
Said there was more than one, so we're in the other one today. It's called like the Badger or something, isn't it? Nice little pod.
Badger's Hole.
Yeah, but yeah, we're here again because, you know, when something's good, why try and change it? You can't fix something if it's not broken. Love it here. Sam, as usual, doing the business, sorting us out in here. So yeah, lovely place to record a pod, mate.
And as ever, check the link in the description for their website. I've been here many a time, not just for drinks in the summer or even during the winter, but look, they've got amazing food as well. And in the summer, it's really nice to eat out on the other side. You've got these woodland dining huts as well, but also in the main building as well. It's fantastic. So do check it out, thepear@parley.com. Now, before we begin, of course, we're filming this in the comfort of a country which is relatively safe, and with everything that's going on in Ukraine, sometimes I sort of think to myself, why the hell am I worrying about stuff like this when there are larger issues going on in the world? I mean, football, none of it really matters, does it? Our thoughts, peace and love, of course, goes out to everyone that's affected by what's going on over there. And if you feel as though you can make a donation, then at the bottom is a link in the description on YouTube where you can contribute to the Ukraine humanitarian appeal. But Tom, we're here to talk about football. And look, I'm going to try to play devil's advocate as much as I can during this video, because Tuesday night, it saw a game where stats will tell you that we achieved the goal of getting back into the automatics, but there are so many things to be asked. Obviously, there are issues on the pitch, but add to that, there are some questionable comments and quotes from Scott Parker. And I'm sat here pondering whether we as fans are the problem or whether there is a culture issue with the group at AFC Bournemouth. We don't quite know, but we're going to try to break it down as much as we possibly can, inserting your videos that you've submitted. And the first one comes from Marky Masters.
On Tuesday's fan reaction, Sam said, "I know it's the heat at the moment. I don't like going to watch." So my question to you is both. We're all taking a hammering at the minute. Petrol, travel, going up to Lancashire, seeing a defeat, coming back again, covering the vlogs, putting everything together, rolling our sleeves up again, going to another game. I know this is all part and parcel of being a fan, but can I ask you guys, is this all starting to take a toll on you and the enjoyment of watching as well as covering the club?
Yeah, interesting point. Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely does impact you. And listen, there's not, Scott Parker and the players haven't got to perform and play entertaining football, so I feel a bit better. I use football. I don't know about you, but a lot of people think use football as kind of your release a little bit. I think that's a good way to explain it. And it's that break from the normal week, and you enjoy it, and you go there to enjoy it and let off a bit of steam. And at the moment, it's probably because of how invested I always feel in the football. It does, it's probably knocking me a little bit at the moment with what I'm watching. Having said that, it is what it is. You've got no divine right to win football matches, and you're gonna slip up. You're gonna drop points. You're gonna have bad days at the office. I think we as Bournemouth fans, a lot of us, maybe not so much younger, but we've managed to see them in all the leagues. I've seen us in right at the bottom of League Two, and the thing I always ask for is you can't. When we're in them sort of leagues, you haven't got the quality, but I want that connection with the supporters. I want to feel like they like wearing the Bournemouth shirt. I want to feel like they know what it means. I've always felt like we're quite a family club, if you like. The manager gets us, the players gets us, and we have that good relationship. For whatever reason, probably on both sides, that seems like it's a little bit further away at the moment. I know people have alluded to the fact that we've often had managers that have had a connection with the football club, in the majority. So Scott Parker has come from the outside, and I wonder if that affects it a little bit. I think as much as his main duty is to get results on the football pitch, I do wonder sometimes if he can just play the game a little bit, say the right things, just to keep the fans appeased a little bit. I think coming out and kind of maybe, against Preston, just moaning about not getting a free kick, and in the last game mentioning, how well we're doing and, how good we were in periods. And I just think there needs to be a little bit of, I think Jacob Townsend said it really well, there needs to be a bit of give one way or the other. And yeah, it's difficult, but we didn't start this season as a fan base being really awful and toxic in the ground. No. It didn't start like that because we had a team that were down to the bare bones through suspensions, injuries, and not getting the signings in yet. And we were playing a lot of young players. Midfield three for the start of the season was Marcondes, Billen and Kilkenny. Yeah. Them three are never going to play together again. Do you know what I mean? As a three, we had Ibsen Rossi at the back, who's now out at Dundee. So we were bringing on Christian Sadie, who's out at Burton. And we really appreciated that them players were working their socks off. Scott Parker had a plan, and we were getting results, and we kind of thought, bloody credit to them, we're down to the bare bones here. And now it's got to a stage where we are full of riches. We've got the players we could pick from. At Preston, Cahill can't even make the squad. It's unbelievable. And the performances seem to have got worse. They seem to be more predictable. Without going into the game too much, it baffles me that we're playing against bottom of the league at home, and not once did we try and change the system. He brings off a right back for a winger. You think, what's he going to try and do here? I'll just put him at right back. Yeah. We make a double change, just like for like. We're not trying to change anything. It almost feels like we're happy to just kind of, all right, it's bottom of the league at home, but it's a point on the board. And it's really difficult. So yeah, it's frustrating as fans. And I think what's also frustrating is it's nice when fans are getting on and you all have that mutual, because we all have a mutual love for AFC Bournemouth. But at the moment, there's a big divide. And it's horrible because you're both trying to put your point across. You both want the same thing. But at the moment, I think you can balance the points. You said it earlier in the show that play devil's advocate a little bit. It's quite easy to do that at the moment because I can see both points.
We're trying to be as measured as we possibly can. And look, you're also asking about the strain on us as fans doing the vlogs and all the travel that we do. We're not the only ones that do it. Of course, there are Cherries fans that do it week in, week out. And then they can vent after the games, whereas I'm taking a different approach. I find doing the free-for-alls and actually editing the vlogs fairly cathartic, really, because my main role, I feel, is to echo what everyone else thinks, but we try to be measured with it as well, and that takes its toll a little bit, especially when it's swaying more one way than the other, and that's what it feels. It feels like we've gone past the tipping point, and now more and more fans are joining this brigade of anti-Parker, and you heard it in the background whilst I was doing the free-for-all outside Dean Court, and it's really not nice to hear. So when you've got this divide, it's very difficult to manage for us, and as such, in terms of my own opinion, I'm still sort of not really sure, and I'm looking to Scott Parker really to change it as soon as he can, because history shows at the first part of the season that he knows how to get the best out of players that are maybe lesser, but now he's got too many riches, like Tom said. So I'm going to play devil's advocate, and like you said, Tom, on the previous video, sometimes you feel like a bit of a fraud, and sometimes I do as well. Because look, let's put this into perspective as much as possible. Our team, little old Bournemouth, we are second with games in hand. Our squad contains a number of players that haven't had consistent first team football before, not for the duration of a season anyway. It's their full maiden season for the likes of Jordan Zamora, Jayden Anthony, even Mark Travers, and they're not necessarily used to having their pressure cooker of having played 30 odd games and having run-ins like these. And look, they start the season really well and fearless, but it seems like the freedom on the pitch, it sort of negatively correlates with the season progressing, because the weight of expectation seems to be getting more and more as it reaches squeaky bum time. So maybe we've got to cut them a little bit of slack for that. They all started so fast, and look, those two names, I think Zamora and Anthony, people have said that their form does seem to be dipping. Mark Travers, I think that's a different conversation because he's a goalkeeper. But we've also, let me throw this into the mix, we've had so many injuries, which I think Chris Temple put this on Twitter. We've had something like 20 different defensive combinations this season. Is that right?
I saw that the other day. You had to come to me when I was on a slip. I saw that the other day. And like you say, a lot of it's probably down to injuries and suspensions and things, but also down to maybe you look at it and go, have we got an overbloated squad? I look at the squad that obviously got promoted under Eddie, and it was quite tight-knit. It was kind of the same 11 every week, bar one or two maybe. And I wonder if I felt Jason had a little bit of this as well. I wonder if when you've got a big squad and you've got so many fixtures, maybe you over rotate because the temptation's there. You're trying to keep people happy as well. So and I wonder if that's the case. But that's too many combinations in my opinion. But obviously injuries does play a part as well. And some of the players that are playing now weren't here at the start of the season. So I think your point on expectations is definitely important to remember. I think that it does feel like the more the expectations have rose, the more the performances have declined a little bit. And you wonder if that's the expectations amongst the fans, but it's also amongst the players, thinking, we've got to win. Whereas at the start of the season, was there a bit more no fear? Was there a bit more freedom because they felt, start of the season, not sure what we're going to do here, maybe. But as I say, the squad we've got is, I just look at that squad and just, I feel like if you said at the start of the season, this is a squad we're going to have at the turn of the year, people would have said, well, we're going to win the league. I mean, we'll absolutely romp it. Look at it. And I know it doesn't always work like that. I'm aware of that. You only have to look in the Premier League and look at Man United's squad, and they're trying to get fourth. So it doesn't always work like that. But when it doesn't work like that, that's when you look at other things. You have to look at the tactics. You have to look at the management. You have to look at why. Why are these, such talented group of players? Why is it not clicking like it is for Fulham, for example?
You mentioned Man United there, which is an interesting example because it's a team full of personalities. And look, it's all relative. We're only Bournemouth, but we have got a number of players that have got Premier League experience, or at least like players like Jamal Lowe, Championship players week in, week out. And there's a lot of managing the pressure of players wanting to play, feeling like they should play. Also, trying to get these new players in as well, like Dembele, Phillips, Todd Cantwell. They've all got to gel like really, really quickly. So that's another thing that Scott's got to do, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. That's a big part. And once again, that's the management team. I know sometimes there's certain players, maybe it was the other night with Laird when we were surprised that he wasn't in the squad. Well, maybe he thinks he's not quite ready yet to be with the way we're playing, he's not quite got the hang of it yet. Whereas maybe Cantwell you look at the way Cantwell plays and maybe he thinks he's good enough, he understands what I want him to do. So yeah, all that sort of things take time. You can't just chuck players in and expect them to know exactly what to do. I wonder if at the start of the season it was quite nice with these younger players because you can kind of mould them a little bit and they never really had that first team experience. So Scott Parker can mould them exactly how he wanted. They had no previous to know how to go about the way they play. But yeah, but the fact is, mate, I look at it and I just think we have strengthened in every single position. Yeah. Goalkeeper, fullback, centre-back, central midfield, wingers, strikers. We have strengthened every single position. We already had Dom Solanki, Jefferson Lerma, Lewis Cook. I can go on. So yeah, it's an unbelievable squad. And it's difficult, isn't it? There's just so many things that I think it throws up. I just think you've got to look at it and go, at the moment, we're kind of getting the job done, as we keep saying, not in the last two. But when you've got that squad and it's not quite flowing as you feel it should do, you've got to ask why. You've got to ask why. And Scott Parker will be asking why. And I don't blame him in certain ways for not coming out and, throwing a hissy fit, because he'll be doing that behind the scenes and he'll be trying to get the players back up to speed. But I also think it doesn't help in terms of expectation of fans when you see Fulham doing what they're doing. I don't think that helps us. You look at the score, you think Fulham have just scored 5 away from home. They've scored 6 this season, 7 this season. Their striker, who Parker seemingly didn't fancy, is going to get the most championship goals ever. It's that doesn't help, because you look at the squads on paper, you think there ain't a lot in that. And on paper, I don't think I'd swap our squad for anyone's in the league.
There's a lot of issues that could be contributing to the problems that we're facing at the moment. And it seems to be there's a lot of self-reflection going on, even within the fan base as well. And we are an expectant fan base, possibly only twice in its history, our club's history, if we've ever really expected anything. This season and last season. We were always having to adopt the siege mentality previously, either to get promoted, to stay in the division, or to beat relegation, etc. And I did tweet the other day that I wonder whether I'm entitled or whether I'm rightfully frustrated. And I think we're quite reactive as a fan base rather than proactive, I feel, and that's with getting behind the lads. I think anyone who's going to Huddersfield next week will hear a really proactive fan base, because their fans are loud from the off. It doesn't take them to do something for them to get behind the side. And I'm quite jealous of it. I think, of course, we want to be entertained, and our stiff upper lip means that we don't sometimes chant because the person next to us isn't chanting as well, and we don't want to look stupid, but we're going to have to do it. Just think, Eddie Howe the experience that he's having at Newcastle must be blowing his mind after, playing football in front of a fan base where it's the team that have got to inspire the crowd, whereas these days it's seemingly the other way around.
Yeah, it's a really tricky one. As I say, I did feel the other night, I felt when the game was starting and before the game, I thought, it's all right, it's a bit better tonight. But it only, as you say, at the moment, it takes a goal for the opposition, it takes a few backwards passes, and sometimes I feel like you need to start a bit faster. We had a few chances early on, didn't we? And we started fast against Birmingham, and that lifts you as a fan base. But yeah, there's definitely discontent there. We can't argue with it. I think, as you say about being reactionary, I think this is why it's important to do these sort of shows, because fan cams after the game, as we saw with Adam Smith the other day, in the moment, you can take it. And we all do that as fans. I've done that plenty of times, because you come out after the game, I've got a camera on me, I've got to talk about it, and I'm absolutely fuming that we just haven't beat bottom of the league. So I think these sort of shows are important to kind of just calm down a little bit, dissect, talk about things and reflect a little bit more. So I never have a go at anyone for being reactionary. The problem is when you're in the middle of the game. So when you're in a fan base, you think, let's leave it till after. Let's moan as much as we want after the game. But during the game, we need to get behind them. They need us. And we need them to perform, but we need to get behind them as well. And I'm not being funny if I was playing on that pitch. If I'm not playing very well, but my fans are really going, I need to step up for these boys. And there's going to be more frustration. And like you mentioned earlier in the video, we've got a lot of younger players as well that they don't want to hear that Jay Nanty makes one backwards pass and gets moaned at. He's gonna kill him.
Yeah, I agree.
And we do need to look at that. I mentioned about Fulham. You just mentioned Eddie Howe there. That's also another thing. I think we've seen Eddie go to a club, and you look at them and go, God, they must be having fun. And all the Newcastle fans are absolutely loving it because of the football we know he plays. And it's difficult, mate, but it is an entertainment business. And I think we pay good money, and we are, as much as we've got to do our bit, we also are entitled to our opinion. I agree.
One thing we don't want to be doing is getting on players' backs. Like you say, it can inspire. It's a fight or flight thing. And look, there have been murmurings, or people have seen Lloyd Kelly shaking his head as he walked off for whatever reason that was. Don't look too much into it. Look, there were times when Artur Boruc turned and swore to the North Stand with two fingers and telling him to F off. We all love him. We all love him now.
If I just come in on that quickly, I think that's what I went to earlier about the kind of connection between the supporters. I remember Boruc doing that plenty of times.
Loads of times.
But the connection we had with them players, he would do that and we'd sing his name and we'd all laugh.
Yeah.
Because there was that connection. And I feel at the moment we automatically go, Kelly's nodding his head, or what sort of a captain's that? He might have been nodding his head because he thought, I've had a shocker tonight. And he's annoyed with himself. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's the difference at the moment. I think when the other players used to do it, we would... And I'll tell you what's a good point as well. We're always singing Marcondes' name. Like, has Marcondes been unbelievable for us? No. I always think he does all right when he comes on. But would he be in most people's 11s when everyone's fit? Probably not. But I'll tell you why we sing his name. Because he's very clever at just having that connection with the fans. Yeah. He's always... We go to all the away games. He is the last one.
I've always said that.
It's not difficult.
I've said the comparison between, say, Jordan Ibe and Tyrone Mings, right? Both of them weren't particularly good for AFC Bournemouth. One of them was great with the media and great with the fans. The other was absolutely crap.
Yep.
And have a look at our opinions of them now.
How do we know that other players that left didn't go in and say to Eddie Howe, for example, in that period, I want to leave, and they left and we never knew about it? Because Ryan Fraser, I'm the biggest critic, because he came out and said it, we will hate him. Yeah. Because there's a way of going about things. And I think if Fraser went back in time, he'd go, should have been a little bit more smart there, should have been a bit more switched on. And that's what I think at the moment. It's a bit of, it's using your head a little bit and just being, as soon as Christie scored, you saw him going like that. And that's what you want. And then everyone started going, and little things, I know it sounds silly, but little things like that play a massive part. There's a reason why Eddie Howe clapped everyone after the game. There's a reason why, I think it was Villa just before COVID, where we were trying to stay up and it was a massive game. He got Fletcher on the pitch to do a huddle right in front of the North Stand. There's a reason why Eddie Howe does that.
They also sent Dan Hall into the changing rooms before that Villa game. I think we won it 3-1 or something, or 2-1.
Things like that are clever. There's in the week, like Lewis Cook's got a documentary coming out, which I'm sure everyone's seen, about his injury. And, that will be interesting. I think that's a nice little insight to see, a player that's had a lot of injuries. But timing of it, they've decided to release it after he's had a few blinding performances. Clever. It's what you do. You're not going to put it out there when he's had a few stinkers, because everyone's just going to reply as they would. Yeah. So you see it already. Every week, a few tickets get refunded, and the club let us know there's a few back on sale. They've done it now, and everyone's going, everyone's added their tickets back in. It's all timing. You've all got to be a little bit clever. And I just think at the moment, fan base, players, staff, we're just losing it a little bit. Because every away game we go to them all, the last two clapping the fans and punching the badge and all that stuff is Emi Marcondes and Steve Fletcher. Every single time. And the last person that used to be there was Steve Cook. And that's why people were so disappointed that he left. And that's why Nottingham Forest love him, because he's gone there and done it straight away. And I just think a little bit of that, it's so simple. It's not even about the way we're playing. Will just get us a little bit closer to him.
So speaking of the connection with the fans, look, we have got a manager that was brought in to concentrate solely on the football and get a job done, which stats say he's doing just that. And we are all wishing, of course, that he could make that connection more with us. But look, he's young. He's adjusting to the culture of the club. Yep. What are we looking for him to do here? I know that there's been issues with him, like clapping fans and stuff. Are we looking for him to do what Eddie Howe did and go around Bournemouth care homes and chat to the elderly and sit on a power chair and be, booting a ball round a sports hall? Because I swear that is part of the reason why Eddie knackered himself out, because of the mental responsibility he had to the fans.
24/7, wasn't
it? Yeah, we want a manager that just sort of concentrates on the football, and arguably Scott Parker is doing that. So does he necessarily need that connection?
I know what you're saying, and he's definitely, no one's going to be Eddie Howe, and I don't expect him to try and be Eddie Howe. He's his own man, and he's got the job for a reason. I think you mentioned a lot there, which I agree with. He's got to concentrate on the football. Well, if he's concentrating on the football, why is it so dull? That's our problem, I think. But it's a difficult one, because he will, as rightly so, and as some fans will say, I'm doing the job at the moment. Problem is, I remember when Jason went, rightly so in my opinion, it wasn't working. And like I said, we gave him half a season, a little bit longer. And we were always in the top 6. The problem was fans were going, the way we're playing, we're only going one way. So we keep saying at the moment he's doing his remit, but you can't tell me, fans there at Peterborough, there at Preston, that we ain't going one way if we keep playing like that. So as much as we keep saying about his games in hand. If we keep playing like that, then games in hand will dwindle out. We won't win many of them. So something needs to change. And that's what you do as fans. Bielsa's just gone from Leeds. He's never been in the relegation zone with them, but they could see them going one way. And that's what it was with Jason, wasn't it? I mean, he was actually let go when he was 6th. And we only finished 6th, but a lot of people would say, and we'll never know, that if he had been kept in a job, we might not have made 6th because of the way, the trajectory was. So that's what we're looking at the moment. If we keep playing like we have done the last few games, I do worry that we'll get in them top 2 spots. So yeah, I think we're preempting a little bit. But as you say, at the moment we are in there. I've said it a lot of times. If this is if Scott feels like this is the way to get us out of the league, then who am I to argue? Because Scott Parker's a football manager, I'm not.
But is it just his demeanour? Because
it doesn't help.
Hands in pockets, not clapping fans off. It feels at times like we're an inconvenience. But one thing I would say is we're in a funny position of being a club that is relatively well off, and we've crammed as much Premier League infrastructure into what was effectively a League 2 stadium. But the fact is we are tiny and we are a small club, and being small means that there is a community. Do you reckon Scott Parker really gets it? Do you reckon he gets what being an AFC Bournemouth manager should be? Or a fan, or are we putting the words in our own mouths by saying that he should be like this?
Yeah, maybe he doesn't quite get it yet, and I don't think that's anything against him. He's only just come into the job, as you say, from the outside. He's not going to know the ins and outs of Bournemouth as a town or as a fan base, and he probably doesn't need to, so to speak. He needs to do what he's paid to do, and that's get us promoted this season. So yeah, definitely not gonna. But there's just little things, like I said, there's just little things that I think it doesn't take a lot. Jonathan Woodgate coming to the club, we were 6th. We finished 6th and we failed in the playoffs. And all we really did is give the ball to Dan Juma and he scored goals. But he went up with Cherries. Right? But I'm telling you now, him doing that tiny little thing makes you think, oh, he gets it. And it doesn't take a lot. And that's what I don't get sometimes, is coming out after the game when you just drew at home to bottom of the league, who can't buy a win. And we've had the same amount of shots on target as them, and coming out going a bit puzzled at the discontent from the fans. Just say, I don't really like booing, but we're playing bottom of the league, we're at home, we understand the expectation, we should be winning these sort of games. The wording of it's not helping, but as you said, and as I've said, I think that he knows what his job is, and maybe he's just a little bit more focused on, I don't care about that stuff. I know what I'm here to do.
Some of the things that Scott Parker has said in interviews is, I felt the crowd were edgy, and that translated. The players can sense that edginess. I tried to explain to the players that we stick to our way. Surely if there's edginess, you're trying to change it up. But either way, he wants to stick to the same footballing philosophy that the fans are edgy about. He goes on to say, that's the way we're going to win games. The stadium doesn't want to see patience, which, sometimes I feel myself, because I think it just, get the ball forward. We seem to be dilly-dallying on it too much. He goes on to say, this is a young team. I'm just as frustrated, but we need to make them feel we are right behind them and accept it when they make bad decisions. What he's insinuating here is he doesn't feel like the crowd are necessarily making the noise or perhaps giving off the vibe that we are right behind them. And maybe as fans, we can do our bit by getting behind them for 90 minutes and then just see what happens. Because if we do that, there's no excuse if there are any poor performances, and accept it when they make bad decisions. Now, look, I understand that players sometimes do the wrong thing, but I'm not even seeing risky football, yet I'm still seeing mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's the top bottom of it. Is I think if you play that sort of way, so you're quite, I think everyone can agree we're quite safe, we're quite conservative. I've said these words so many times. Quite regimented, quite disciplined. We're certainly not free flowing. If you're going to do that, then Scott Parker's got to appreciate that if he's going to be like that, you're taking a risk, because if you're going to play that's not that good on the eye, get the results then. You have to get... Jose Mourinho made a career out of it. I never thought his teams were good at football. But I'll tell you what, look at his CV, and that's why he got away with it. As soon as he went to Man U and was doing it and he didn't get the results, he was let go. And at the start of the season, anyone can go back if anyone thinks we're being too overly negative here. If you went back, you'd see myself on countless occasions, I'm sure other people, saying, wasn't that good today, but I'll tell you what, we took the lead and we defended well and we won 1-0, and who can blame the lads? Great result. 1-0 away from home, bloody take that. But what you've got to realise, if you're going to play that sort of way that's not entertaining, if it goes wrong and it doesn't like you're going to change it, you are going to be criticised. Because not only did you not get the result, but it was rubbish to watch as well.
Yeah.
You know, and you've got to accept that. And I can always accept mistakes, as you say. It is interesting when making them when we're not even taking too many gambles.
That's the thing, yeah.
What I can't accept, in my opinion, just going off the last game, is being at home to bottom of the league and not trying to change anything. We didn't change anything. It was all like for like. There was no part of the game that tried. It was so easy for them because they thought Bournemouth just doing the same things over and over again. They're having all the ball and they're not having any shots to tie. The goalkeeper didn't have to get up. It was, how are the goalkeepers not tested at home to bottom of the league? I'm sorry, you cannot expect, if you're Scott Parker, to come out of a game, a team that should be getting promoted automatically, playing at home to bottom of the league, and 2 shots on target, their keeper not even having his gloves muddy. You can't expect the fans to be happy. You just can't. I'm sorry, you can't.
Yeah. No, absolutely. All right. Okay. What we're going to do is use this opportunity to now hear what Abby Markham had to say.
Hi guys, just giving my reaction to the game on Tuesday. Not a great watch. Pretty negative from the start, really. Pretty negative in the stands from the start as well. I think near me, people were shouting like, come on, get it forward. And that was only after about 2 minutes. I was surprised Ethan Laird or Leif Davis, neither Ethan Laird or Leif Davis were on the bench, because when it came down to it, who did we have to replace Stacey with? Anthony. and it was just a bit odd. Obviously, Zamora, we didn't have an option for Zamora really, because I think Leif Davis has actually been really good recently. So I feel a bit sorry for him, to be honest, unless he's injured, of course, I don't know. Again, Dom having to drop really, really, really deep. And then when he's not dropping deep, he's by himself, barely touches the ball, gets ganged up on by the defenders, never gets any breathing space. That said, I did actually think in the first half we had 4 or 5 really good chances, and our clinicality just totally went out the window. We could have put that game to bed, I think, in the first half, been like 2-3-0 up before they had their goal, and we didn't. And as usual, they got a goal. They managed to get a goal through our kind of one bit of poor defending, and we did look a bit shaky in the back throughout the game as well. So yeah, it's just how it goes, and more and more it seems like our getting the first goal is more and more important to kind of our way of playing. We come out of the blocks within 10 and 15 minutes and we kind of do a really good 10-15 minutes, and then if we don't score in that 10-15 minutes, we become flat. All the impetus seems to kind of drain out. I don't know if it's confidence or what, but that just gives the opportunity for they weather the storm, and the opposition are have their tails up then, and they're willing to give it a go. For me, playing the bit that really does do my head in is the playing it kind of slowly up the pitch, letting the opposition obviously get back into formation. Like Kelly will come out. He's like shrugging his shoulders. He's like looking around. He's like, he doesn't know where to pass. No one wants it. And then if we get that far, we get in front of the defence and we play in kind of a U formation for like a minute until someone decides to essentially lose the ball, which we did a few times, and let them counter-attack. So yeah, it was bad. No one wanted to put a ball over the top. No one was doing like our overlap thing that we were doing early in the season seems to have just disappeared. We don't seem to do it anymore. And I don't know if that's just changes in partnerships. I don't know, but it's not been working the same as it was at the beginning. Maybe teams have figured us out, but it's just so predictable that we can't play against low block teams, counter-attack teams. And it's the fact that we haven't figured any of them out yet is just ridiculous, to be honest, considering the talent in our squad. That's the frustrating part, is that other teams can beat them, and they've proven it, and we can't change our tactics to adapt. It's really frustrating. So yeah, those are my thoughts. on the bright side, yeah, I did think, like I said, we could have put that game to bed, I think, if we'd been more clinical. But when you're bringing on subs also in the 85th minute, that's not enough time to make a difference. So, yeah, pretty sick of our attempts to create the perfect goal. I just want us to put a few more balls in the box, to be honest, and give it a bit more of a go. Shoot from distance a few more times, maybe. Yeah, they need to give the crowd something to get excited about, because, yeah, it was pretty negative the other day. But anyway, fingers crossed for Derby. Up the Cherries.
Some great points made by Abby there. And one of the things that I don't understand is one of the things she said about Dom and the fact that he's had to drop deep, because seemingly he's always on his own up top. Why is he always so isolated? I thought the whole point of the Parker brand of football was pressing football. And surely that means that it's not just Dom pressing, it's everyone pressing. So the two wide men should be going up there as well to support him, but seemingly not seeing that.
I do feel like the pressing side of things has really changed. I thought at the start of the season it was quite evident. I always remember QPR at home, Jaden Anthony, high press, got the ball, scored. Billing was quite good, he was getting a lot closer to Dom. And whether that's the players' kind of confidence or it's a style and a tactic, I'm not sure. But he's dropping so deep, whether he's asked to do it or he's just getting frustrated in himself. He's always on his own. I don't understand why he's not partnered. I mean, how he's managed to get so many goals when we give him so little. I'll counteract that though, to try and stay measured. I'll counteract that with the fact that Scott Parker's the first manager that's got 20 goals, Dom Solanki. And I also would like to counteract that with the fact that Kiefer Moore was signed and unfortunately got an injury. Was that in the thought of we can change things? Because Kiefer Moore's a very different type striker. And did he look at it in them sort of games like Peterborough, that with the last 15 minutes, I can pair Moore with Dom and give him something different to think about, and maybe he's lost that option a little bit?
Yeah, Lowe's not that type of player.
He's not that type of player. But I still don't, I just keep counteracting it like we keep saying, but I still don't understand a player that scored 3 and 3 not just coming on and partnering Dom. I can't help but think the fact that it was all like for like, and the fact that the changes were so late was because our manager thought, don't really want to lose though. And thought, yes, hopefully we can win, but a point's a point. And that's the mindset I think we're in a little bit at the moment. And you saw that against Preston. When we were drawing, he was happy to get a draw.
Steve Perry said, please, can you explain why our system cannot accommodate Jamal Lowe playing closer to Dom when the need arises? And, whilst he is no Kiefer Moore, I do agree with that. And that's something that, maybe we'll never understand. And the reason why we'll never understand it is because, as Abby said, his resilience about his resistance to not changing tactics. And,
Bizarre.
Why keep to the, let's call it 4-3-3, and he only just changes the personnel when we need to chase a game? It's the formation, invariably, that has been found out, and the tactics, maybe not necessarily the individuals.
Yeah, I agree. And how you can choose to not put a right back on the bench. So you've gone into the game thinking, I don't think we need a right back on the bench. And then when you're chasing a game, you've decided the best option is to take off your only right back and put someone there out of position. Don't get it. And he's also decided in the last game at Preston that Laird was a player he wanted to bring on to change the game. So he obviously trusted him to change a game. And then a few days later, he's decided he's not good enough for the squad.
This is one of my other questions, something I don't understand. The constant dropping of players from the squad completely, only to then start them on the next game. He calls it for tactical reasons. He's done it before with Jack Stacey. Well, he did it for last time.
Well, and I think Stacey, he's been quite inconsistent over the season.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say he's either poor or really good. And don't get me wrong, Stacey's a good right back. You're getting most teams in this league. But I actually thought Stacey was doing all right. And then I thought, okay, fair enough. Smith's back. He's dropped him or whatever. But I'll tell you what, on Tuesday, when he's been dropped from the squad and brought back in, it didn't look right. He didn't look good. So can you say that was a right decision? Because I didn't think he looked good. He looked like a player that thought, if I don't perform here, I'm going to be dropped again. And I don't know if that's the right message. It's difficult.
Do you think based on this formula that we might be having Ethan Laird and Leif Davis starting
at the weekend?
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Because, they've both been dropped, but, lo and behold, all of a sudden they'll be in the... another question. What does it say when you're dropping a player like albeit to the bench, that scored 3 and 3.
Yes.
That's got to affect his mentality. I know he can always cite tactical reasons.
Yeah.
I know he can always do that. And as the grand thinker of AFC Bournemouth, then he's entitled to do what he wants. But then you look at it in hindsight, realising how poor we were in general. First 20, 25 minutes we were all right, but then they scored, and after that it was downhill. But how can we not be having a player that scored 3 and 3 starting for us?
I think the main problem is like I said, I kind of expect him to start, but I didn't mind that he wasn't starting. I think you got to remember in the first one of Blackpool, it was off the bench. He got the goal anyway. But I think I said it before the Peterborough game. In all 3 of them goals, he scored all of them goals when we took a bit of a gamble and we kind of went, it's not going the way we wanted it to. We were behind at Stoke, home to Stoke. We were behind against Blackpool and we were drawing with Preston. And we kind of went, get a bit closer to Dom. And every time he put him closer to Dom, Jamal Lowe put the ball in the net. And then when we brought him on 87 minutes, which is outrageous in my opinion, he left him wide on the left. He didn't put him near Dom. I thought he's going to put him up top.
You'd think so.
And I look at it's never going to happen in a million years, but I look at the players we've got available and I think, obviously Lerma's back now and Billings out for the weekend, for example. I think, forget about the back 4 and goalkeeper for a minute. I think you've got 4-4-2 there in your locker. You've got Ryan Christie, right midfield. You've got Lerma, Lewis Cook, who can do both roles, kind of up and back. You've got Todd Cantwell, loves playing off the left, and then you can play Jamal Lowe up with Dom Solanki. And I just think it's there. It's there for us, especially at home, to go and take the game to teams. I think at the moment we're too predictable. We're far too predictable. And Abby mentioned it there. There was a point where I was with my friend watching on Tuesday, and I think Travers had the ball, and I said, just give it to Kelly now. We know you're going to do it. And then he gave it to Kelly, and I went, Zamora. And then he gave it to Zamora, and I went, it's coming back to Kelly. And I went back to Kelly, and I went, here we go, Nat Phillips. And you know exactly what's going to happen. You know exactly what's going to happen. And I'm sorry, if I could see it, the opposition can. There's a reason why Grant McCann's come here and done the job on us again, because he done it with Hull. Because he knew he wouldn't change anything. He knew how to set up against us. And I think the predictable side of it is frustrating. It doesn't look like there's any other ideas. I know people talk about that plan B.
Yeah.
But
I wonder sometimes if this is a shirking of responsibility. It's either that or it's the fact that these players, look, it's a very small stadium that we've got, and that can both be a good thing because we can create an atmosphere very easily, but also it can be a negative in that you can hear these isolated comments, especially on Tuesday when it was absolutely deathly quiet. Players will be able to hear individual comments from the crowd. So if players like, for instance, Lloyd Kelly are hearing the fact, oh, bloody hell, Lloyd, they're less likely to do anything risky because fear of getting absolutely jumped on. So maybe you can sort of tell why he's thinking, you know what, one, I'll play it safe because that's what Scott Parker wants me to do anyway. So, and when he did walk off shaking his head, I wonder if that's maybe him feeling aggrieved at some of the comments he got. Maybe he's with us and feels as though that was a poor performance. I don't quite know. These are debates to be had, but in terms of Scott Parker and this kind of dropping players and then putting them in, it doesn't just happen match to match as well. One of the best 3 players at the start of the season, 3 or 4, probably Gav Kilkenny.
yeah,
He's now in the footballing abyss. I don't know where he is.
I don't think we'll see him this season.
No, and for a player like him, he didn't do any worse than Jade Anthony and Jordan Zamora, who are starting nearly every game by default. I don't know what he's done. You can say that it's a very competitive position. You can say that Lewis Cook has been doing well recently. I think Cook has been doing well, but he hasn't been a million miles ahead of what Gav Kilkenny was, because he's a player that was brave and tried things, and yet he's nowhere to be seen. So you just you wonder the mentality with regards to all these players that Scott Parker needs to keep happy is, probably sometimes quite low. Yeah,
there seems to be certain players that you think they'll never be left out. So Lloyd Kelly won't be left out. He's the captain. Philip Billing will not be left out unless he's injured or, as he is now, suspended, and he hasn't been good of late. Jane Anthony seems to get a lot of minutes considering his drop in form sometimes, and I guess that sometimes Scott maybe thinks they're the players that can do the role that he asked from the best, that he can rely on them a little bit more maybe. But yeah, it is odd. I do look at us sometimes and just go back to it again. I think he's got too big a squad. I don't know, but some of the decisions are quite quite baffling, really, at times. I don't really get it. I mean, Gavin, I know for a fact we go at the end of the season. I bet you I guarantee we've done better when Kilkenny's played. I'm sure of that. I'm convinced of it. And that is quite surprising that he's now, like you say, just been completely left out. I felt he was quite reliable. You know what you're going to get from him. So that's another thing that's odd. And I don't know. And then Kelly, you mentioned it there. I thought it was a good point about fans getting onto him and things like that. And I actually thought at times when there was that moaning of him going sideways and back, he then just kicked it and it went straight back to him. So it was almost like he was kind of going, all right then. And that's the thing. I think if they don't do the safe thing, I don't think they really know what they're doing. They just kick it and go on, Dom, do something. And he did nearly beat about 5 men, and we're kind of hoping for a bit of magic, aren't we? I mean,
do you think it's turned into a culture of players not wanting to try things for fear of the fans getting on their back?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of that. Maybe there's a little bit of this isn't what Scott wants me to do. Maybe there's a little bit of we're not getting the results at the moment, so the confidence has dropped a little bit. And I will say, how do we know? Billing's dropping form, for example. Can we put that all down to Parker, or is Billing just not playing very well? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you don't have to look too deeply into it. I mean, Kelly, Billing were probably 2 of our most consistent at the start of the season. They're both having a dip in form. Maybe it's just one of them things. Maybe they'll come back. But I certainly don't think Lloyd Kelly having so many partners this season as centre-half, that can't be good for you. You always hear about you don't change your centre-half pairing. Do you know what I mean? That's always like, who your centre-halves are. So, yeah, maybe it's a bit of over-rotation at times as well.
We're going to have a question from Tom coming up very shortly. But if you haven't... Yeah, not you.
Is there another Tom?
There's another Tom. But if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do. Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to the channel because there's plenty of AFCB and EFL content between now and the end of the season. Hopefully, next season it's Premier League. So yeah, there is another Tom, and that's Tom Payne. Here's what he had to say.
Hi Sam, hi Tom, it's Tom here. I just wanted to say how crap watching Bournemouth is at the moment. So negative. I'm fed up of seeing the ball side to side. I'm not normally one to be negative, but this is poor, absolutely poor. I dread going to watch Bournemouth now at Dean Court. I think they really should look back at videos from the Championship winning season with the pace, the overlaps on the wings, the exciting football. Now it's just lethargic, slow, backwards. We can't break down teams. It's just shocking to watch. Billing looks like he needs to have some CPR or something to wake up. Kelly is just no leadership. He calls himself captain, but there's just nothing. I think back to Tommy Elphick, Francis. He's got nothing on them. It's just awful to watch. And I can't have any relationship with Parker, even down to what he wears. I would love to see him wearing a Bournemouth tracksuit or something with the badge on. It just feels like he's here for a job and for himself, not here for the fans. The way he just walks down the tunnel at the end and doesn't acknowledge us, I'm fed up at seeing it. I don't want to say Parker out, but something's got to change. We just need more exciting football. This is Bournemouth. We're known for our good football, our exciting flair football, but now it just feels boring, and I can see us mucking up this promotion. And if we do, it's an absolute travesty because everyone below us is poor. Compared to last year, the Championship is a poor league. But yeah, thanks guys. Have a good one. Up the Cherries.
Well, that was quite a statement, wasn't it? Even dissing the cardigans that he wears, mate.
Oh, you can't do that. He knows his fashion, Parker. But no, it goes back to that connection thing again, doesn't it? What Tom was saying there, I do get it. I get that it doesn't always have to. They don't have to be the same question. We talk about, we say we want to see good football, but then we are going up. It can just be what you want out of football. And do you want to be entertained? Do you want to watch good football? Do you care what league we're in? Because I'll be there if we're in League Two. Do you know what I mean? And if it's good football, it's good football. Or is the Premier League the be all and end all? Is that what it is? And that's quite personal. So I don't think anyone's right or wrong. But that's individual, isn't it? That's on what you want out of the football.
I'm caught between.
I understand.
I'm caught between wanting Premier League football because of the money it brings, and hopefully we can eventually build the training ground, build the infrastructure. But once the infrastructure's in place, in all honesty, as long as the club stays afloat, I don't really care. Because, it's not necessarily that opposition fans always call us tin pot and my garden shed is bigger than this, etc. But, it does stick. And as a club, I don't feel as though we look that ambitious if we're still playing in the stadium we are. So I want to build an improved infrastructure with the money that that we get through the door, and that's it. And some of the things that he commented on, I found quite interesting. He was talking about the pace, the overlaps, the sort of seeming lethargy. He mentioned Phil Bill there. PK on Twitter, when we asked the question earlier today, we asked what would you ask Scott Parker if you could. Paul Kenwood said, from the stands, it looks like you've asked the players to maintain possession and limit risky forward passes / shots unless there is a high chance of success. Also, Tasha put on Twitter saying, I politely asked why he's holding players back, not playing to their full potential each game. Also, Hillary said, Scott, why don't you let them play and stop trying to micromanage the whole game? They have the ability to play free-flowing football, and many of them are capable of shooting from a distance. Why don't you let them? So are players being held back? And if so, why are they? If they are so talented, surely you can see, when you've got a player in front of you, you can see that he's got the ability to do X, Y, Z. You've got stats that will show that he's fast, he's quick, he makes X number of attacking runs. They've got all the analytics, but for some reason, it's the control thing. It comes back to control. And I don't understand why he would prefer that when it's obvious they do better the other way.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're talking about it, because I don't get it. I don't get it. I look at the players we've got at our disposal and I don't understand. I think I've made this point before, but you can go to certain teams in the Premier League or in the Championship or any league, and you kind of go, I get why they're playing. Peterborough coming to us and having a low block and trying to get out there with a point. Well, I get that. It's Peterborough. They're at the bottom of the league. No disrespect. They're at the bottom of the league. They haven't got as good players. Of course they're going to play like that. Why are we doing it when we've got the best squad in the league? I don't get it. And I can't start the season. I got this control thing and taking the lead and holding on. We had players out and we were getting the job done. You can't tell me that we're controlling a football match when we're not beating bottom of the league at home. You can't. That's not control, is it? And having the same amount of shots on target as them, how's that control? They look comfortable as anything. And Grant McCann after the game was gutted that they drew.
Oh yeah, he was.
And that's not control. That's not control. I'll tell you what's control is winning 5-1 away from home like Fulham did. That's control of the football match. Get 3-0 up and control the game. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know why control has to mean slim scorelines.
Yeah, and control doesn't mean negativity, doesn't mean safe football. You can control the game. Man City control football matches by a different level, of course, but you know the point I'm making is they control football matches by being on the front foot all times and not giving their opposition a moment to breathe. And their squad compared to the rest of the Premier League, I think is quite comparable to ours compared to the rest of the Championship. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. And I think now, not trying to single anyone out, but you'll see the point I'm making. If we had hopefully we won't, but if we had a playoff final tomorrow, he's playing Jay Nantley, he ain't playing Solanki Dembele. That's the type of mindset. He'll look at it and he'd go, Dembele could probably offer more go. Nantley will track back for me. And you look at Ryan Christie, and I really like Ryan Christie, by the way, good signing, good goal in the week. But I look at it now and go, I know why he likes him, because he works his socks off.
He works really hard,
Why did he not play Mitrovic, but he loves Dom Solanki? Because Dom Solanki works harder off the ball. Mitrovic doesn't move but puts the ball in the net. That's not enough for Scott Parker, and you can see that, and that's the way he likes it. But at the end of the day, mate, as I said, a lot of individuals, myself included, I go to the football to be entertained. I want to see good football. I'm not too bothered what league we're in. Scott Parker wants to see us in the Premier League. If he thinks this is the way to get us out of it, it's up to him.
I've said this before, but obviously football, even when we spoke to Brian Cox, Professor Brian Cox on this very channel, football is a fusion of art and science / mathematics. So you've got all these stats that tell you a particular thing. You look at the stats, they'll tell you that we're second. But when you look at the artistic flair of the players, it seems to be not so much there anymore. But what you have got, I mean, you can't put that in you can't put that in any stat really. Like all of the flicks and the freedom and the expression that players deserve to have. You can put the stats there of, they did this and they did that. And that seems to be what Scott Parker's almost focused on. Do you think we're almost we're suffering with paralysis by analysis, or maybe over-analysis? The way we're just over-analysing these stats and, that's the be-all and end-all. Because he said that the more control you get, the more passes you have, the more possession, naturally you'll have more shots and the shots will come, and when you do have the chances you take the good chances and all this kind of stuff. Last video I just feel as though we're overthinking it.
Yeah, I get that, and I think if I had Scott Parker here now and I was talking to him, and I'd say to him, you know more about it than me, so I'm asking because I'm intrigued.
And you want to learn.
And of course, and he's much more intelligent on being a football manager than I will be. But what I want to say to him is, you talk about his perfect goal, and I kind of understand what you're trying to say. But the last two games, right? Why did we score in the week? Because Ryan Christie got the ball, beat a few men, and scuffed it into the corner. He took responsibility. That's not the perfect moment. He just had a go, didn't he, on his own? Game before, ball in the box that they missed, and Lowe tapped it in. That's not waiting for the perfect moment. That's getting a little. And in that Preston game, I said it again. We had two big chances. One went in, the other one was a header. They were both from crosses in the box. They were just like half chance, weren't they? Nat Phillips has a header from a corner. I don't see this perfect moment. I look at I'm trying to think before that now. Blackpool game, they're a bit overstretched. The game when we come back against Blackpool, it was because the game was a bit overstretched. We were taking risks. We were not in that game, and then we just took a few risks. And then Belly's just got the ball and probably should square it and puts it in the near post. That's not waiting for the perfect moment.
I mean, we were pretty poor at Preston. We were.
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Go on
again, and you could argue that everything that the crowd moaned at against Preston was put right in the first 20 minutes versus Peterborough. We were quicker out of the back four, more direct. There were some shots from distance, more dribbles.
Yep.
Obviously, it's crap that only two of those shots were on target, but there was an improvement.
There was. It was a bit like Birmingham at home where we started a little bit faster, so I can't argue with that. We did start faster. I still think if you're having, I don't know how many exactly it was, but it was definitely over 20 shots, and you only get on two on target, some will say, which I understand, well, that's not the manager's fault, that's the player's not hitting them on target. I would say because them chances are not clear-cut enough because we're not getting the bodies in there.
Yeah. Because
we're having to take snapshots and because we're not getting the players in the right positions in them perfect moments to actually test the keeper. But yeah, I do agree. We were certainly on the front foot at the start, but all they had to do was make just one little kick forward and they were in and they scored. They scored straight away.
Surely the more players you have up top, the harder a job it is for a defender because you've got more bodies in the box, you've got more players to mark. Why haven't we got more people supporting Dom? It just doesn't make sense.
I wonder if sometimes he doesn't, maybe he doesn't trust the two, maybe he doesn't feel... I look at Lewis Cook and Lerma and think that could be a two.
Do you think that's because he feels that we could be exposed in other areas if someone like Jamal Lowe was to go forward?
Yeah, and you ain't controlling, we talk about control, you ain't controlling the game if Billing's in a two.
But 4-4-2 is one of the most rigid systems in football.
True.
It's not a bad system.
I just think you've got to look at... I understand having a philosophy and having a way of playing, but I think you've got to adapt to the game, and you've got to appreciate that we've just lost at Preston. We're playing at home to bottom of the league. We've got a player who scored 3 and 3. How about let's chuck him on there? How about let's give fans what they want? Let's go for it early doors. Let's get a couple of goals ahead, and then if you want to sit back and control the game, then no one can moan about it. I think trying to control the game at 0-0 is odd. But like you say, we did start a little bit more on the front foot. I just I just wonder at times he doesn't maybe trust certain players to do the role. I think when I looked at us and saw Cantwell come in and now we've been playing with Cantwell and Billing, you think, oh, that's very attacking. But every time Cantwell gets the ball and looks, beats a few men, he's so deep.
Yeah.
I think, why is he dropping that deep to get with the ball? He's obviously getting asked to drop deep. And Solanki does a bit of magic. Yeah, he does it on the halfway line. He's got to beat. There was one time he beat about 4 men. He still wanted him with a chance of shooting.
I would like to know what it's like, actually, the stats comparing. Quite often on Sky Sports, they split the pitch up into third and they put, various percentages on it.
Yeah.
I would say that the percentage of possession that we had under Eddie, and I'm sorry to bring him up again, would have been much higher in the middle third and the final third, rather than Scott Parker, because it seems for us the weight of the possession is always in the first third and the middle third.
They were getting the ball, whether it was Cook and Elphick or whatever, and the fullbacks at the time, they weren't fullbacks, they were wing backs. They were so far forward. They played as wingers, didn't they? It was really the 2 centre halves and Sermon dropping deep, and then the wingers would go.
We had quite a high defensive line,
definitely, and we weren't afraid to concede because we said we'll score more. Don't worry about that, and we did, and it was very. Cut the passes we're in, weren't we? Whereas now it feels like we need 10 passes to create anything. I think I might be wrong, but I feel like I mentioned it in a previous video recently. The thing that concerns me is you go off kind of evidence and things like that, and our best scoreline was Swansea, 4-0 against Swansea. When we started the game really poorly, or they started it well, whichever way you want to look at it, and they were on top, weren't they? And what Scott Parker did really well there, and we all gave him credit, was he adapted, and we dropped Lerma into a free,
and
we bombed the fullbacks on. Stacey was unbelievable, and Leif Davis
was brilliant, yeah.
And they played as wingers, pretty much. And we just went, you know what? You're on top of us here, but we got better players. We're just going to go toe to toe for you, and we battered them.
We don't do that now.
We don't do it, but the evidence would show that when we did that, it worked. Yeah. So that's why I would counteract this control side of things, because I felt that was one of the most least controlled games of football I've ever seen. It was just frantic and all over the place, but I'll tell you what, it was enjoyable. We won 4-0. So that's what confused me sometimes. And I'm not saying that he never has, because that was a game. There was another game, I can't think of it off the top of my head, where Parker made a few changes and it really changed the game, and we really adapted to in-game. But at the moment, it doesn't feel like we're ever trying to change anything, and I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it is because this approach is, we've got games in hand, we're in a healthy position, don't lose. And I still felt against Peterborough, regardless of the fact they're bottom of the league, we made like-for-like changes because we thought, let's don't lose. And the mentality should be, make sure we beat bottom of the league.
One of the things I don't understand, and this is another question that we would have if we could, is with regards to Gary Cahill. Now, I personally think that Lloyd Kelly's form is dropping as a result of Gary Cahill not being there, because Gary Cahill, whilst he's not quick, he garners respect from the whole of the defence. He's constantly talking to Lloyd. He tells them where to go. You can constantly see him gesturing, where they should be playing. Whereas Nat Phillips is still relatively inexperienced compared to Lloyd Kelly.
And it's a new partnership.
Compared to Cahill. And it's a new partnership as well. And you just wonder whether having him back in would benefit the side. Now, again, it's this sort of all or nothing approach that I don't particularly understand. Because look, Gary Cahill, originally he played more games for us consecutively than I thought he would. He's an ageing player, brilliant player, but he's one that I thought might play every 2 out of 3 games or something, but he was played relentlessly. And then his form, did dip, and he was making a few mistakes, but I mean, he must have been, getting knackered with all the games he was playing. And look, maybe he had a bit of an injury, recovered, and then not being picked again. But under his stewardship at the back, Lloyd Kelly thrived, because I think Lloyd Kelly's just got a lot of responsibility on him as captain.
Agree.
Still relatively young. I think that really, in all but name, Cahill was captain when he was playing.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I like to think, because I wouldn't like to think, but a part of me thinks because of his age and the fact that he had an injury, wonders that whether he goes, boss, I can do a job, but I'm probably not going to be able to do 90. And maybe the science side of things, the physios that are going, probably got the bit. He could come on if you were leading, you need him to. So they've just kept him on reserve, maybe. But I agree, we've been probably a little bit critical of Lloyd in this video, in the sense that what happened in our most recent game, he didn't have a good one. I would like to say that Lloyd Kelly's a pretty good footballer, but I do think we forget how young he is. We forget how young that lad is, and he's got the captaincy on him. At the start of the season, as you mentioned, was he carried a little bit by Kale? Not carried by Kale, but did he feel like, I'll tell you what, I've got a Champions League winner next to me. Do you know what I mean? I can get through this. And now is he feeling like, oh my God, I've got young Jordan Zamora one side, and then I've got either a Mepham or a Nat Phillips or someone on the other side. I'm the main man here. Yeah. And is he struggling with that responsibility? Maybe, but
I could tell you one, and look, different levels of football. When I played for Ferndown Locomotive on a Sunday in the Bournemouth League, hey, we got to the Prem.
No, well done, mate.
And if you're watching this and you play for Loco, put a comment below saying Ferndown Locomotive or LTID or whatever. I was captain one season. Right, I was made captain. Yeah, no, I was.
I bet you did the admin as well.
I did.
Yeah,
no, I was made captain.
Yeah,
I did the website.
Oh, really?
But locoboys.co.uk. It's probably on Web Archive. It probably is. And I was really burdened, like manager Paul Phillips of Trevor Phillips Barbers in Ferndown. It's all about the Ferndown, this show. Hello, mate. I was really burdened by the captaincy because I was more worried on other people's game than my own, and I forgot to sort of do the basics. And I just wonder, maybe Gary Cahill took that away from him. Well, he's named captain, he's wearing the armband, but he's the one with all of the experience. He's the one doing all the talking. Yeah. It seems like since Cahill's been gone, Lloyd Kelly's just not the same player.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I've actually been captain of both.
And don't tell me you won the league that year.
No, we didn't do that well, actually. But I struggled with it a little bit. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that responsibility. I did enjoy it. But I also felt like, obviously, much lesser degree, obviously lower level. But I felt like, we had a player that's he likes playing in there. I'll go and play over there because I'm the captain. So I'll go and do that because you need to. So I know what you mean. And Lloyd, and like I say, I think we keep going back to the fact that we're talking about Lloyd Kelly. I know. I think it was Tom mentioned it in the video there, which was a fair point. Tommy Elphick was a great captain. Simon Francis was a great captain. They were a lot older when they got the armband. A lot older than Lloyd Kelly. It's a lot of responsibility. I think he's a player. I think he's given him it. I don't think anyone was really up in arms when he got given the armband. I mean, Steve Cook was still named as a captain, wasn't he? But I kind of get it. But I wonder if that's maybe playing on him a little bit. And he feels that level of responsibility sometimes. And when the crowd's getting like it is, he thinks, I need to make a forward pass here because they're getting onto us. Maybe, and you got to remember last season he was kind of playing left back. Yeah. So it's probably been a bit of he come into the football club, got a really bad injury, we got relegated. Then he's a left back, then he's a centre back. Now he's captain and our main man. It's been quite full on for him. So I wouldn't want to be too critical. We had a bad few games, but I think over the course of the season he's been pretty decent. And I don't think there's anyone that screams captain ahead of him. I know everyone would say Lewis Cook, but that's probably off the basis of a few performances. At the start of the season, he wasn't getting anyone's team. Form plays a big part in this, and it's quite reactionary. Lloyd Kelly's had a few bad games, but Lloyd Kelly at the start of the season was pretty decent.
So Lloyd Kelly's one leader. Of course, our main leader is Scott Parker. One of the comments that we had in that I find quite interesting is whether he's charismatic enough. I mean, he's charismatic when there's a Streets soundtrack being played under what he says. Those videos that circulated on social media. But, someone put, is there an argument to have more of a motivator stroke, more charismatic type of boss when you've got one of the most talented squads in the division, more rather than a sort of like analytical, technical type? And that kind of made me think, like, if you go back through the list of Premier League winners, you try to find the last manager that wasn't very charismatic. I mean, Jurgen Klopp is very charismatic. We've seen the all or nothing Pep. Thinking like Manuel Pellegrini maybe wasn't very.
I know he's because I always say to you, I like Real Betis, and he's manager there now. They love him, so maybe he has got a little bit. But I know what you mean. Mancini had a bit about him. Yeah, Mourinho had a bit about him when he first came over. Yeah.
And going back through it, and you do sort of wonder the question whether he's so embroiled in stats and a particular way we play that, from what I have seen and heard, the dressing room culture at AFC Bournemouth is all about fun and enjoyment and stuff. And you used to see on the behind the scenes videos the sort of vibe in the changing room before a game. There was lots of like handshakes that I don't understand and all that kind of stuff when players came in. You don't see that anymore. Whether Scott Parker doesn't like that kind of content going out, I don't know. But I just wonder what it's like in the dressing room. I'm not saying it's been lost, but you do wonder whether there's the same kind of vibe. Is it overly serious? Do you reckon they're maybe feeling the pressure of knowing that they have to get promoted? I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that dressing room. I really would.
Yeah, I would as well. And I do wonder if all of this is, I think if we were talking, a fair few months ago, we'd be saying, they're united, really good team spirit. And I wonder if it's that expectation thing again, and they're starting to feel a bit of a burden. We got quite a lot of young players. I'd like to think the voices of your Gary Cahill's in there would help that. And listen, if I'm Scott Parker, what I'm saying to my players is, I've been in this league once before and I got out of it. Trust me, I'll get the job done. And at the moment he is, so he needs to use that. I worry a little bit when we're talking about Scott Parker and the way he is as a manager. If I said to you, as a manager of a football club, he's come in, near the end of the season when you're virtually down, he's come in, and his job in the Championship was to get promoted, and he got you promoted. And the following season, you're going to have a scrap, but you're hoping to stay up, and you just go down. Would you say that manager's going to be hated by the fan base? Well, of course not. You'd go, no. Well, he tried to get you up, he got you up, and then he just didn't. Fulham hate him. No. And we saw that when we went to Fulham. I couldn't believe the amount of Andy Parker chants and things like that. That's all they were obsessed about. And that's weird for me because I look at it in black and white and I go, you needed to get promoted, he got you promoted. You needed to stay up, you nearly stayed up. Why'd you hate him?
Yeah.
So that makes me think, was it that bad? Did he have a connection with them fans? He played for them.
Yeah.
So that concerns me a little bit. But as I say, if I'm Scott Parker, I'm saying to them players, I'm getting people like Gary Cahill, which I think was a shrewd signing because of off the field stuff as well. I think you're saying, I'm a winner, mate. And Scott Parker's going, I've been in this league, I've got you out of it. Just trust me and get it done. And hopefully there's not that kind of divide in the dressing room because that's what can make you fall down, really. And I like to think, you just want to see that unity. And at the start of the season, we did see that. So I'm hoping that's still there, mate, because you definitely need that in the dressing room. And we don't. We're never going to completely know, are we?
All right. Let's hear from another fan then. Who would you like to have on? I'll give you a clue.
Yeah, go on. Oh, God, that hurts my shoulder. Richard Jackson.
Richard Jackson. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Hi Sam, out for a walk in the local park. Thought I'd try and erase the memory of those two most recent turgid performances. I've been thinking back to those halcyon days in the autumn when we played beautiful football in beautiful weather. But was it beautiful football? Well, I've looked back over 4 games that we played, Bristol City, Huddersfield, Barnsley and Swansea, and it really was. And things I've noticed that we are just not doing now. Look at how quickly we closed other teams down. Look at how quickly we broke and we moved the ball. How many players did we get into the box when we were attacking? We got loads of players in. And also how quickly we played through balls, how quickly and early we crossed the ball. These are all things we were doing with the team that Scott Parker was saying was still learning, and they definitely weren't the finished article. Well, to my mind, we've almost gone full Benjamin Button, and we've actually regressed. And we were possibly the finished article then with a team that was nowhere near as good as the players that we've got now in the squad. So I would recommend that anyone takes a look at those fixtures or some of the early fixtures just to see the difference between the performance level then and the performance level now. One other quick thing I'd just like to say is the booing. To my mind, it doesn't help anybody booing during the course of the game. Imagine someone coming into your place of work when you're having a hard day, an off day in the office, and standing there and booing you. It's not going to make you work any better. It's not going to make you perform any better. By all means, people, have a go at the end of the game, vent your frustration when it's not going to affect the performance on the pitch. But I think on Saturday, particularly against Derby, a bogey team, we need to make sure we're fully behind the team and we encourage them, even when things, and I say when rather than probably if, things aren't going particularly well, and hopefully if we can get behind them and they know we're getting behind them, we can get a better performance and maybe produce some of those early season performances that have been sadly lacking over the last few weeks. Okay, onwards and upwards, up the cherries in all departments, and see you all on Saturday.
Looking forward to it. That's Richard Jackson from a very windy rugby there.
I'm a bit worried about his arm holding that camera. I've got to be honest. I just think he's going to go any minute. He's going to go. I'm pleased to see you survive that one, Rick.
Yeah.
Makes some good points, though.
Yeah, he makes some cracking points, doesn't he?
And I think I'm going to do the same because they're the games that we all talk about, aren't they? I think I remember Bristol City, it was only 2-0, but we battered them. I mentioned Swansea earlier, and obviously Huddersfield, and I think he said Barnsley were other big wins. And I'm interested to look back, and I think without looking back, I feel like pressing. If I had to say one word, I feel like the pressing is gone.
Yeah.
I said it to Jacob Townsend when we were talking, and I said Billing in particular, but I don't want to single him out on his own because it's not just Billing. No. But I felt like we talk a lot about Don being isolated. I felt at the start of the season, I thought the Billing gets close enough. You know, that's what I like about Billing, what he's doing. And Andy was pressing, and we will never know, or I certainly don't know at the moment, is that an instruction or is that the players not being confident? Is that the players going, I'm not sure at the moment, I'm going to play it a bit safe and drop off? Yeah. Or is it Scott Parker going, don't press as much? We don't know that, so I can't criticise either or, but I think that's gone. I think I'm going to do the same. I think if you look back at them games, I bet the pressing looks so much more relentless. Whereas now I feel like it's not completely gone, but it comes in fits and spurts. Whereas it felt like we were just on them all the time, high up the pitch. And that seems to have gone. And I'm scratching my head really to why that's gone because it worked. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. Is it different combinations? Is it different things that the team's not working in that unison at the start of the season? We couldn't make too many changes because we had certain players to pick from, and that was that. And did they just all understand what they were doing a little bit more? Yeah. Who knows? But I think the pressing side of it, it'll be interesting what people think. But I feel like that was very evident at the start of the season, and it's going away a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the comments that we had also is talking about the urgency of our football and the speed and the tempo of it as well, because it's not fast enough. We do tend to make passes that are fairly inevitable and predictable, and they're slow. We play in a formation by which it's not stretching teams. Teams, once we've got the ball, will be able to reform in their defensive shape, and then it's playing against that low block side, which is something that we've always suffered with under Eddie or Jason, Jonathan Woodgate, or even now. Tempo's a massive thing, and this is an entitled comment, but I can't remember the last time I saw really exhilarating football, like edge of your seat stuff, like really exciting stuff to watch. And maybe it shouldn't. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that if we're getting the points, but we're not getting the points we're not getting the points in the game where we should be showing that side. A team that's low on confidence, Peterborough. Hadn't won since your
they haven't won away from home since I was in my 20s, not 30. So
all these stats, and you just think surely as players you must think right, here's a chance now to absolutely batter them. Yet we're still playing really conservatively. To me, it doesnly make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm trying to think of a kind of a counterpoint, and all I can think of is.
You can't think of one, mate.
I can, all right. All I can think of is that maybe, this is probably giving them too much credit, but maybe in certain games, when you're on paper and in the league table, one of the best teams in the league, maybe that exhilarating football is harder because teams sit so deep. Yeah. So it's harder because there's not as many gaps. There's not as many gaps. And when we were first in the Championship with Eddie and we got promoted and we say how good the football was, don't get me wrong, there's a different style, there's a different philosophy, but also we weren't predicted to go up. Teams were having a go at us and there was gaps to exploit. We had a good record against Chelsea in the Premier League because they always felt like they should be beating us and there was gaps to exploit. There's less gaps to exploit at the moment. And I always argue the point, a lot of people have said about fixtures and we need to get points on the board because we've got a really hard run-in. I prefer the hard running because I think we're better against them teams. Yeah. Blackburn aside, we went to Fulham, got a point, should have won. Late on in the game they scored. Yeah. We've done the double on QPR. We've beaten Sheffield United. We battered Huddersfield. I think we're better. Whereas Peterborough, we haven't beaten them. whole, we haven't beaten them. So I think we're better against the. I really do, because I think there's more gaps. I think we really struggle with this low block, deep tier. And what's happening at the moment is we're conceding first, and then they're giving them something to hang on to, and it's really hard to find gaps then. But that's where players on the pitch and also the people in the dugout have got to find a way of adapting. And I just don't think at the moment we're finding the right formula to adapt in certain moments, and that's where it can be a bit frustrating.
I think we've also got to keep in mind that it's not just the fans that are used to this Eddie Howe diet of exciting football. I've used his name again. I think it should be a swear jar on the show, mate. But
that was the last time we got out of the Championship, which is what we're trying to do, so it makes sense.
But, there's also Fletch, who's like in and around the first team, Richard Hughes, Neil Blake watches us week in, week out. Yeah. Neil Blake he's a fan like most of us, and he wants us to get into the Premier League. So he's not going to be happy at what he's like seeing. And look, he's got influence as well to be able to say things to Scott Parker. Obviously, the board will not be dictating what Scott Parker does, but I'm sure that the message to Scott is not just coming from the fans. It must be coming from all angles. And like Jacob Tanswell put in one of his recent articles, there's got to be some give. I think, as fans, we probably could do more. We do need to get behind the side, but Scott Parker maybe needs to just loosen his philosophies a little bit, just to satisfy the people that are dissatisfied, because there are and will be a growing number of people who are feeling discontent if this style of football continues.
Yeah, I agree. I think the problem is, I think these people, as you say, Neil Blake, people like that, they're probably watching the football going, God, this ain't very good. And they may point that out to Scott, but they've employed him to be the manager of the football team. And at the end of the day, they're going to go, well, he knows more than me. It's for example, Sam, you do all the editing and stuff for this stuff that we do on Back of the Net. And I'm trying to think of something, a thumbnail, right? Thumbnails that come on the video. If I said, I don't really like the thumbnails you do for the away day review. If I said that to you, I go, why don't you do that? And you went, well, I think this way gets it. I'll go, okay. Because I know that you know more about it than me. Yeah. So if you're Neil Blake, you might go, I'm not sure about this, Scott. And Scott will go, trust me, I know what you're saying, but we'll get it done. You go, okay. And that's the difference. I think the people upstairs are probably, like you say, they're fans like us, especially Neil Blake and Rich Hughes, people like that. But they've put a lot of trust in Scott Parker. And I think at the end of the day, at the moment, as we keep saying, Scott can come back and go, if we stop the season now, we're up. Yeah. And that's what you brought me in to do. So that's why we're having this whole debate, mate. That's why we're having the whole debate. And as I said earlier in the video, it depends what you want out of football. I want Premier League, but I want to be entertained. And at the moment, I'm really, really torn. So all I'm doing at the moment is going off the games and going, if we get the result and I didn't enjoy it, I'll go, didn't really enjoy that, but we got the result. Then the last two, I didn't enjoy it and we didn't get the result, I'm going to voice that. And I think that's fine.
So on Twitter earlier today, as I alluded to earlier, we asked you what you would ask Scott Parker. And look, we've tried to address a number of those, but there have been lots of comments that have been coming in throughout the show. And you're seeing them on screen there. We've mentioned Hillary Trott. Carol White said, the players are not currently playing to their full potential. Is this due to overcoaching, or is it the lack of cohesion due to integrating new signings? We mentioned what Steve Perry said earlier on as well. AFCB Adam said, do you think the fans should be entertained and enjoying football the way we play? A Big Kev said, there's visibly a lack of cohesion between fans and the club right now. What are you going to do to ensure we unite? Andrew Parkin said, please, Scott, please help me understand the tactical thinking behind taking a free kick inside the opponent's half and instead of delivering it into the box, passing it backwards. Yeah, valid point. We've had also comments from Layla as well. Why can't he allow the players to read the game themselves and adapt to the play in front of them without needing his permission? Absolutely valid. Cherry to the call, Michelle. What has changed in the team philosophy from the beginning of the season when we had the unbeaten run to now? Steve Butler said, is it possible you can get the players to enjoy one-touch attacking football without any coaching pressure? And also Keith Brewer, the man, the Don, the legend, who hates being on Back of the Net, but I'm going to mention you anyway, Keith. I understand the emphasis on ball retention, but why does our progression up the field have to be so delayed, allowing the opposition to organise in numbers, which is kind of what I mentioned just then? There now appears to be little effort to break quickly. Surely varying our style makes it more difficult to defend it as well. And look, there are other comments on there as well. I'm just flicking through them, and look, we've tried to do as many points as we can. And I note with interest what Richard Jackson said, which I think was very interesting about watching.
I think Rich is
games.
getting so much airtime there.
He is getting, but I think it'd be interesting to almost have me and you, or or someone with people with technical nous. So
you,
yeah,
I'll come if you want.
To watch 10, 15 minutes from, because it's all on AFCB TV, 10, 15 minutes of Bristol City v AFCB, which is one of the most complete performances, versus what we saw.
And just see the patterns. It'll be interesting.
And just see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that on a video. Take a few stills, and maybe we'll do that on the next one. Look, but this video's gone on long enough. It's nearly 1.5 hours. If it's not, it may be over it already. And we want to say thank you for sticking with us. This is just mine and Tom's view. It doesn't necessarily represent all the people that contribute to Back of the Net, and it doesn't represent AFCB supporters as well, but we're just telling it as we see it. But we are united in the fact that we want to see Bournemouth get promoted by any means, but by any means also includes getting results, and with some difficult fixtures ahead in April, it's imperative that the results happen now. But look, as fans, we can do our bit, can't we? We can get right behind them against Derby.
We've got a team at the weekend that have shown what you do when it's not going your way.
Yeah.
We've been there before as supporters, with minus points and things like that. I'll tell you what, I bet if you went and spoke to Eddie now and said how big were the supporters during that run, he'd say they were massive. Derby are trying to do the similar thing at the moment. Their fans were coming full voice. They were one of the best, weren't they, at their place? Rudy will come in. They'll be hard. They're a bogey team. They are a little bit of a bogey team, and we struggled with our other ones, Preston recently. We've got to get behind them. And as you say, Sam, I'm frustrated at the moment in what I'm watching and things like that. But I'll be going there Saturday, full of optimism. Be going there, cheering the boys on. As soon as they come over, I'll be cheering them on. Come on, and that's what everyone needs to do.
And we'll be behind you. If any players watching, we'll be behind every single one of you. So
forget Tuesday's gone. Tuesday's gone. No one was that happy with it. It was a disappointing one. We didn't beat bottom of the league. We didn't play particularly well. It's done. We can't do anything about it. Let's see a reaction on Saturday, mate. And if we can get behind them to get an early goal, who knows? It could be back to some of the games you mentioned there, and we can really kick on from here. And hopefully we can go back in a few games' time, and me and you will be going, do you remember we were talking about our style and is it good enough? Now we're bloody going to go top the league. We're about to jump above Fulham. It's unbelievable. Who knows? It's football. It's fickle. And I think, like we were saying, we do these fan camps because I think it's important to get instant reaction. But equally, we do these longer videos to reflect a little bit more, and hopefully
I feel better already.
Yeah, I do, mate. And hopefully we've tried to give a measured approach, because I think there is both ends to it, and I can see both sides. So hopefully we've managed to do that for everyone out there, and let us know how we've got on.
Yeah, tell us what you think, and use the comments below to express how you feel, but whether there are any sort of pertinent issues that we've maybe not discussed. Look, we can do as many videos as we need to, talk this out, to chat it out. So use the comments for that. But you know what? You probably saw the content schedule, and we're expecting the Preston video. That's now later. That's now in a week's time, a week today. That'll come out, because look, this is a more pressing issue.
At least we got a plan B.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't.
Rather than us rate the bloody hot dogs at Deepdale, look, that can wait. This is a more pressing issue. And
hang on, teaser, they were awful.
Oh, Preston fans are not going to like that. Look, if you enjoyed this long form video, you could do us a huge favour. Firstly, hit the like. We would truly appreciate that. It massively helps the video to get seen in front of more people. But also our pinned tweet, or whether you saw it on a Facebook post, just give it a share as well, and maybe quote tweet it if you can, if you found this useful, and just maybe say how we were trying to be positive.
Yeah, maybe. And like you said, Sam, whack it in the comments, because we've done this video because people have been debating it so much. So we've said this, but the fans want this. They want to see both sides of it, which we're trying to give up. So if you've got any other thoughts on future videos, stuff like that, I'm sure we can cram one in before the end of the season. Who knows? But yeah, we appreciate all the support, and keep that. I've got a lot of kind of constructive comments recently about kind of things we've done, and I really enjoy that. I like that because you want to, we're there for the fans, aren't we?
We're there for
That's all we are. We're fans. We're not pretending we know loads about football. I mean, I know a lot, but we're just trying to be there for the fans. But I reckon I could do a job.
Look, and to Scotty Parker, I know you're not watching this or whatever, but I just hope the message gets across to Scott that, look, mate, we are behind you completely, and we have got Super Scotty Parker. And look, it's almost like we need to hug it out. Scotty, we love you, mate. Just get us promoted, and by hook or by crook. But to do that, we need to get results. We appreciate the fact you got 4 wins in a row before that loss and the draw at Preston and Peterborough, respectively. But we feel as though we should be beating Derby and should be beating Reading. No pressure.
Premier League.
Come on, lads, we can do this. Bit of pleasure. See you later.
Up the chairs.